Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to CWG. I'm going to apologize in advance that perils of working from home. My cat is on my desk, so I'm trying to keep him out of the frame, but if you see a tail or something, I apologize in advance. Lauren, do you want to go to the next slide, please? So I'm going to begin by reading the names of the people I see in the meeting. If I miss anyone, please let me know. I'm Kirsten Yucatel from SANDAG. Also here from SANDAG are Richard Radcliffe, Suzanne Martinez, and Lauren Lee, who's helping me run the meeting. We also have Brent Burge from Caltrans, Eric Luther from APCD, Erica Vaca, Karishma Becca, Nicole Lewis, Kevin Rios from Caltrans headquarters, Julia Leo, who is here from EPA. John Kelly is out this week, so Julia is here in his stead. Kevin Hendron from CARB, Michelle Giron from the Port of San Diego, Rodney Tavitas, also from Caltrans headquarters, Sarah Thornburg from the county, and Vike Renga from Caltrans headquarters. Have I missed anyone? Okay. I don't see any members of the public, but we do welcome the public to these meetings, even though we are not a Brown Act body. So I will just pause for a moment. But hearing none, we'll move from public comments to any member comments. Any announcements or member comments? Oh, I'm going to add that Alejandro Nunez from APCD is about to join us. Okay, then moving to item 3, our meeting minutes. Those were attached to the agenda. If anyone has any corrections or thinks of any of the details need to be changed, please let me know. You don't have to let me know right now. You can always email me, but those are there for your review from our last meeting. And then we have only 2 agenda items today. Lauren, can you move to the next slide, please? The first is the 2025 Regional Plan Draft Conformity Determination. And this isn't as much a formal presentation as I just wanted to go through and offer an opportunity for discussion. So thank you, Lauren. This is just a quick review of the criteria and when they were brought to this group for consultation. And then next slide, please, Lauren. And then, nope, one before that. And then, okay, well, I'll wait and see if maybe it's hidden. I'm not sure, Lauren. There should be a slide that is our modeling results, the demonstration of conformity, the actual budgets and results. So while we're seeing if that can be pulled up, I just wanted to open it up and see if anyone in this group had any comments. I have had the chance to receive comments from EPA, from John Kelly, refining some language, describing EPA's actions in the narrative of the determination, and identifying a couple of typos. So those were very helpful. And I just wanted to be sure that if there was any point of discussion from anyone in this group that we wanted to have as a group, that we had an opportunity to do so. The review period for CWG does, there we go. Thank you very much, Lauren. The review period for CWG does run through next Monday, the 12th, close of business. And I do ask that if you have comments or feedback that you provide it to me by then, because I want to have enough time to understand the comments, make any changes, and the conformity determination will be going out as an appendix to the regional plan on May 23rd. So it's a somewhat tight turnaround on the SANDAG side, and I want to be sure that if there are concerns expressed by anyone in this group, we actually address them. Okay. Well, hearing none and seeing no hands raised. Oh, Rodney, do you have your hand up?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure you will have a contingency amendment, correct?
Yes, when we
Okay.
do the final.
Okay.
The
Sounds
final
good.
plan, we will do a consistency determination, and we'll do it all at once. I know that in the past, we didn't always do that. There was a sort of, I don't know, informal grace period, but we are anticipating doing all of that at the same time.
Thank you. Sounds good.
And I should say that I do expect that we will be bringing this back, as we do when there is a draft to final changes. So I am expecting, I don't know all of the changes that will be considered, but I'm expecting this will come back to this group in the early fall. And then the determination that's final with the consistency finding, just for a sense of the time frame. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Well, then just again, a quick reminder to please, oh no, you can go ahead, Lauren. Thank you. A quick reminder to please send me your comments, email them to me, reach out to me if you have any questions or need any information by close of business on Monday. Okay, our second agenda topic is a discussion item also of the 2025 RTIP Amendment Number 5 exempt project listings. This came out of some conversations that Richard and I had in response to some comments from Karishma and Rodney in reviewing the 2025 RTIP amendment listings. And out of those, the decision was made that it would be a good topic for this group to discuss, to understand the context of the comments that were made and our responses, and just to be sure that everyone here is on the same page. I also want to add that we have one other attendee, Anna Millard from SANDAG. So I'm going to turn it over to Richard to do the presentation and to go through the background on this.
Thanks, Kirsten. Can you still hear me okay? Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so thank you. Amendment 5 was posted for public review several weeks ago, and then we distributed it to this group on April 11th. And then that amendment included project SAN 183, which is our Bataquitos Lagoon double track project. And this project raised some concerns by Caltrans Air Quality Branch on the grouping of the project. And then discussion of the project at today's CWG meeting was recommended. Next slide, please. So SAN 183 is, again, the Bataquitos Lagoon double track. And this project was first added to SANDAG's RTIP in Amendment 1 to the 2012 RTIP. And at that time, it was programmed as part of our SAN 114 Coastal Rail Corridor grouped listing. It was also listed as exempt under the mass transit, track rehabilitation, and existing right-of-way exempt category. The project was reflected in the ABM3 modeling that was used for the conformity determination. And the project is now, I believe, as of sometime in the 2023 RTIP, it is under construction. And I want to mention too that we have discussed internally before receiving the comments from Caltrans headquarters that it would probably be more appropriate for us to pull the project from a group listing and program it as a standalone. And so this is kind of giving us more reason to do so potentially. Next slide, please. This slide here just shows a screenshot of the project information table for how SAN 183 appears as of Amendment 5. The current project description states that it will be on the Coastal Rail Corridor over the Bataquitos Lagoon from milepost 234.5 to milepost 235.5. So about a mile, a little less than a mile, to design and construct 0.8 miles of double tracking and a new bridge over the Bataquitos Lagoon. And again, you can see the exempt categories that's selected as the mass transit and track rehabilitation and existing right-of-way. Next slide, please. This slide here provides a map showing the location of the project. As you can see, the project is strictly limited to the rail lines just north and south, as well as over the Bataquitos Lagoon, just south of Avenida Encinas to north of Ashbury Street. It's a little hard to see. Next slide. And then this slide here shows the current, as of Amendment 5, the backed up listings for the group project listing SAN 114, which is for the rehabilitation or reconstruction of track structures, track and track bed in existing right-of-way in our coastal rail corridor. And I've highlighted SAN 183 because this is the main project in question here. Also, there was a question brought up about SAN 182. I just want to point out that SAN 182 is substantially complete, and I believe in the next few months, so by the time we come to the next RTIP cycle, that project we are planning to, or expecting it to be not carried forward and just left in the 2025 RTIP. So I just thought it was useful to point that out. Next slide. Okay, and so this is our final slide. And so the purpose of this slide is to kind of just guide the discussion, to kind of help us determine how is best to proceed. So the goals are really, one, to ensure that all federal partners agree that the project is exempt from air quality conformity. Two, to ensure that federal partners agree that the project can be or should be group listed. And then three, any suggested course of action that results from the discussion. And that's it.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, so with that background, I don't know, Rodney, if you would like to, if that reflects all the things that we discussed from your viewpoint that we were going to bring to the group. I definitely want to give you an opportunity, or Karishma, to round out that presentation if you feel there are other relevant issues.
No, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for listing everything. I think what I'm really looking for is if our federal partners will agree, because it is kind of a gray area. And, because of the 2025 FSTIP findings, we do have to make sure that all regionally significant projects are individually listed in the RTP and TIP. So we're, cautious of that. I was wondering if our federal partners have any comments, or do they need to speak offline, or whichever.
Okay, unfortunately, I'm not entirely sure how many of our federal partners are here at this meeting. I can confirm, I can say, and Richard, correct me if I'm wrong, that no other comments were made expressing any concern about these bundled listings. So
yeah, I guess EPA, do you have any comments or concerns?
Thanks, Rodney. This is Julia Leo. Having not attended the previous meeting, I'm hesitant to make a determination on this. I think John attended the last meeting, maybe when this was discussed, but we'd be happy to discuss offline, or get back to you all next week, confirming that exemption category on the project.
Yeah, sounds great. Looks like we'll also need FHW FTA as well, to make sure that we're just all in alignment.
Hey, this is Suzanne. Can you hear me?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm having trouble with my computer. I think I have way too much stuff open, so I can't get my video to come on. But I just want to say, from SANDAG's point of view, that I think that since this has been grouped this way since like 2012, right? I don't know. I don't think that we feel like there's some sort of immediate course of action that we need. I would hate for us to have to tear apart our formal amendment number 5 to try to, I feel like this is something that even SANDAG is willing to kind of, you know, understanding that this is falling in a bit of a gray area, and just to make sure that, you know, we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's, you know, we are in agreement that we should, you know, we will want to be able to list this as a separate project, right? But I don't know, I don't feel like the urgency is there for us to have to like pull apart our formal amendment 5 in order to do it. Our course of action was to try to do it with our next RTIP update, which is going to start, the process of that starts in next January. I don't know that that, you know, FHWA or EP or anybody feels that we need to work on it immediately. And if that's the case, we'd be willing to do it in our next upcoming formal amendment. I just don't, I'm hoping that that people aren't feeling like we need to pull apart our formal amendment type 5. We've already gotten approval from our board on our amendment. So pulling it apart would just kind of put a wrench in, you know, some of the plans for some of the other projects on that amendment. And, you know, given that this has kind of been hanging around like this for, you know, 12 years already, if not more, I don't know that, you know, waiting at least to the next formal amendment would be an issue. And ideally, SANDAG would prefer to, you know, make the change. It's committed to making that change in the next RTIP update. And we're hoping that that would be sufficient.
Thank you for that explanation, Suzanne.
Thanks.
Hi everyone, this is Wika. I'm the FTIP coordinator for SANDAG. So Suzanne, you mentioned when is your next formal amendment you are expecting to do?
Richard, do you have, I think you have more precise dates on those.
Yeah, so we, hi Mike, we currently have it open for submission, and it's one that we will be probably submitting beginning of August, once it's expected to go to our board for MPO approval on, I believe it's July 25th.
Okay, so it will be advertised before that, correct?
Yes, correct. Yeah, we're planning to post it for public comment. It would probably be first or second week of June for our public notice.
Okay, because as you all know that during our last CFPG meeting, we are addressing the federal planning finding, and it is really a hot topic for MPOs and state and FHWA. So our opinion is, if you see any gray area, I do not recommend that taking any leaving, you know, knowing this is a gray area, and if you raise the concern, it is strongly recommended that you need to take action on this one. So I think one option is we have to do on the next formal amendment, if that is okay by Transfer Quality Branch and FHWA, but I do not think we can leave it like this, even though this has started 12 years ago. But for planning findings is getting in the MPOs and the state agencies saying, okay, you know, our reviews are not doing properly well, or some issues happening, right? So, so I think to address this issue, we should take action. Rodney, unless before the next formal amendment, FHWA agrees, EPA agrees, this is okay. Otherwise, we should separate the project. I think that's our recommendation.
So I just want to follow up on that, Like, would it be acceptable to you if we proceeded with amendment number 5, but brought this issue back to this group with a more maybe robust discussion with FHWA and FTA prior to amendment number 6? Or the next amendment?
When is the next, sorry, Mike, when is the next CWG meeting, Kirsten? Is it
The
June?
next CWG meeting is, I believe, June 4th.
Oh, so we could have some discussion on it and still pivot or make adjustments to our plan, or how we're going to proceed after that. We'd still have time to you know, if we needed to program it separately in that formal amendment, we still have time to do that.
Well, and that would allow us to also reach out to our other federal partners and make sure, in addition to EPA, that everyone is at the meeting, so there can be a back and forth discussion.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, I think that is acceptable as long as in this amendment package, you clearly mentioned the response. This will be brought to the CWG as well as FHWA partners, and we will be taking appropriate action on the next formal amendment. With that information in the package, I don't think any issues on approving that. But it should clearly written the response is still pending. Also, Richard, can you show me again that what is the change we are making here? This is the corrections we are making on this one.
A revision of funding between fiscal years.
Oh,
So-
revision of, okay,
Yeah,
Okay,
it's a simple
okay.
change.
okay. We are not changing any scope at all, right? No
No.
changes. Okay. Okay. Okay, so the changes is just swapping the fund between the different fiscal years in the FTIP?
In the current amendment.
Okay.
I just had a quick clarifying question for this discussion. I know we're discussing if the SAN 183 project should be programmed as a standalone rather than grouped. Is it just the grouping we're going to be discussing for the next amendment, or whether or not the project should be exempt at all? Is that up for discussion, or is it just the grouping?
I think it's primarily the grouping, but I think it's also the exempt categorization.
I don't, yeah. The part where, the only reason why we were, SANDAG had felt ourselves that it should probably be a standalone just because of the huge, how big the project is and the potential regional significance, but SANDAG never really questions its exempt status. That would be, yeah, that from our point of view, we feel it's still exempt. It was just the grouping of it that we felt might be an issue.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
So just for my clarification, I think it has a double tracking and you are adding a new bridge in that to incorporate the second track, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so Rodney, is that changing the travel patterns or modeling issues, or no issues with the modeling?
Here's kind of like how I look at regionally significant. If it has an impact on the travel demand model used for conformity, whether it's positive or negative and it's not exempt, then it's considered regionally significant. Unless you go through interagency consultation and we all make a determination that, yeah, it's exempt from regional conformity.
Okay, thank you.
That's what this process is for here then. Okay.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Okay.
Or in this case, because it is kind of a gray area, is I think why it's important that FHWA, FTA, EPA, that if we could all agree.
Okay, sounds good, Rodney. So I think that is a proper course of action.
Okay, so we will continue with amendment number 5 with this language clarifying that the issue is open as being brought back to this group for determination. Am I understanding this correctly? And then we will hold our June 4th meeting and reach out to our federal partners to be sure they can be here
Yes.
to have the full discussion of this project, its inclusion, how it's reflected, whether it's listing, to air all of those issues so that we have clarification going forward. It is consistent with past SANDAG practice to identify this as exempt, but it is also reflected, already coded into the ABM model. So I know Rodney had mentioned that, and Richard had mentioned that before, but just to clarify, it's already in the model and in the modeling used to demonstrate conformity. But it is listed as an exempt project under the track rehabilitation in existing right-of-way. So I just want to be sure that we're in agreement that we're proceeding with amendment number 5. We're discussed with the language that Vika has already requested of Richard. We're meeting on June 4th and need to have our federal partners here to go through all of these particular issues. Its classification, its regional significance. Is there any, and its group listing. If
That is-
anyone after this meeting thinks of an issue that they would like to have more information on in advance of that discussion, please email me so that we can be sure that if there are questions or information on the model or whatever it might be, that we can be sure to have that information submitted or have people at the meeting on the SANDAG side who can answer that with
Thank you,
specificity.
yeah, thank you, Kirsten. That's my understanding. Thank you.
Okay.
Mine as well.
Okay. Well, thank you. I really appreciate everyone's input on that. Any further comment on this issue or on or thoughts for the June 4th meeting?
Thank you for your patience and understanding.
No, I appreciate your helping us discuss this so we could bring the issue to the group. I really do. Okay. Well, that is our last agenda item. Again, if anyone thinks of information they feel would be relevant for their participation in the June 4th meeting, kind of beyond having everyone here and what Richard has already shared about the context of these projects and this discussion, please let me know so that we can gather it and be prepared for that discussion. And with that, thank you so much and have a great day. And we will see you in June.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.